Well, you know what? Actually, no. Funny enough, I'm glad you have, because I made you watch this twice anyway.
Yeah, you did. And this is another reason why I want to talk about it. Obviously, I'm not going to go into a synopsis of Grave of the Fireflies. Do I really have to? Because most people have watched it.
You shouldn't have to.
No. I will just say the first time I watched Grave of the Fireflies, I got annoyed. And it was basically because most people were comparing it to Barefoot Again. And then when I watched it, I was...
Was that really why you was annoyed? I thought you was annoyed at the storyline.
I was annoyed at the storyline as well, but I was getting to that. The reason why I was... Oh, God, you've messed up my flow now with your interrupting. Right? I was annoyed because people compared it to... I was annoyed because people compared it to Barefoot Again, and the fact that it had nothing to do with that. And what annoyed me, because the storylines are totally different. The first time I watched Grave of the Fireflies, I thought it was annoying to me because of the fact that the main character, and I thought he was a selfish character. It aggravated me, and I just didn't appreciate the anime. To tell you the truth, yes, is it beautifully done? Yes, music is fantastic, blah blah blah. But just the storyline kind of aggravated me. At the time, I really didn't know much about it, only that it was being compared to Barefoot Again. I did not even know it was based on a true story.
Okay.
When I watched it, and I didn't really want to watch it again. It was just one of those animes that I didn't like the way it made me feel, and I didn't really want to watch it again, because it was hard hitting, but I just didn't really want to watch it again. And you forced me to watch it for the second time.
Because we were doing this podcast, and I watched it a second time for the podcast as well, and I felt like even me, I needed to watch it again to really understand it. And it's been a couple years since we both watched it the first time.
Yes, you are right. And this is the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because the second time I watched it, I had a much clearer understanding of the anime and the relationship between Seita and his sister Setsuko. How it all happened and what happened at the end. It's not a spoiler, because right at the beginning of the movie, Seita says that, this is the day that I died, blah, 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 blah. I just really enjoyed it more, and it was a very, very sad story in two ways, just because of the fact that obviously they were also orphans, but they went to go and stay with an aunt who was a bitch. Mm-hmm. And, he decided that Seita decided that he was going to move out at some point.
Well, since we're talking about this, I was going to keep quiet, but she was a bitch. But funny enough, I'm not being racist here, I've seen a lot of Japanese animated movies and series and stuff, and I'm kind of used to them having that kind of attitude. And I'm kind of used to the younger, the adolescents just adhering to what they're saying. But in this particular movie, he seemed to be a little bit, I'm not going to say he was intolerable, but he kind of, I don't know, he was a bit of a smart ass in his own way.
I get what you're saying. I actually think that maybe they softened up her character because this is relatively a true story. Yeah, and maybe it was not politically correct to see her or to show her in the light that I think that she probably was. Obviously, I'm assuming here, but there were certain things that she did in the anime that made me believe that she was a bitch.
Yeah, ultimately she was a bitch. I
think, and another dimension I discovered while watching Grave Again is that Seita had a very hard life. Obviously, he was 14 at the time. His sister was 4. He lost his mother in a horrific way, which I know a lot of people at that time would have lost their parents that way as well.
Yeah.
And his father was off in the war fighting. And I think he needed his sister with him, because there's this whole thing in the anime where he decided to leave and take his sister with him, yeah? And even the first time I watched it, I thought that was bullshit. Why the hell did you take her with you? She's 4. You know what I mean? You should have left her with the aunt and gone about your business. But the aunt was being a bitch, and there was points where the girl was even hungry. Yeah, I'm not saying that they both weren't spoiled, because there is a level of spoiledness that they both had. The little girl was a crybaby. Fair enough, she was 4. She cried every 5 minutes. And he was obviously used to a certain way of living. His dad, I think he was quite highly ranked.
He looked that way.
In the army.
He was proud of his dad, actually.
Very proud of his dad.
He didn't find it out till later, though, really, because he never spoke about his dad much.
His mom.
He hardly spoke, actually.
His mom seemed also to be, they were well off, and obviously you know that because near the end of the anime, you find out he's got money in the bank.
Yeah.
They have money. So, well, not even near the end, but you find out.
Yeah, about halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah. So, to me, it was like I could see that. Yeah, there were certain elements where he should have humbled himself a little bit more. With his aunt, but I could understand more why he took his sister with him, because he had lost the rest of his family, and he was trying to be strong, and I think he felt like he needed her with him as well. But obviously, as the anime goes on and you see how it goes on, and this whole anime is about an apology to his sister, because obviously she passed away. You can see that. Well, that's not really a spoiler, is it?
It's not a spoiler. You kind of dropped it in nonchalantly, but it doesn't matter. Go on anyway.
Well, yeah, it made me very angry the way that she died, but you can see the reason why she died like that is because of lack of experience, stubbornness, and the fact that he left her alone. She was left alone, and I loved the thing that I loved about the anime the most was really at the end of the anime after she had died, and you get to see her living in the area where they lived, and you get to see that, hold on a minute, this girl was kind of left alone. And he was off finding food and stuff. But most of the time when he was finding food, he was kind of eating half of it before he was bringing it home. So to me, it was a beautifully written anime. And I know it's already acclaimed. I know that's the reason why he didn't want to talk about it anyway, because people were already, licking its ass and loving the pants off of it. But for me, it was just the fact that the first time I watched it, I didn't like it so much. Because I was just angry, but I was angry for the right reasons, obviously, because the anime did obviously affect me. That's why I was kind of angry at the characters in the anime. But the second time I watched it, I was softened a little bit. Let me just put it that way. As like you say, I hadn't watched it for many years, and I appreciated it more. And the honesty of the actual writer, the fact that you will write something like this about you literally killing your sister is deep.
Well, let me clarify what he actually said, because he said obviously Grave of the Fireflies is based on the main character's real life as well, but he says he feels responsible for the death of his sister because in real life he said he didn't take care of his sister half as much as he did in the anime. And in the anime, obviously because he wrote the story, he's alive, but in anime he dies. So I'm not even going to comment on how that's a lame-ass apology. That's kind of, you can't really say that's an apology. But at the end of the day, the story's out there. And
I don't know if I'd say it's an apology, but I still think it's brave for you to write something like that.
Well, he said it's an apology. He wrote that story as an apology, and he killed himself in the story as an apology to her as well. He specifically said that.
To tell you the truth, him killing himself in the story, to me, really isn't an apology.
That's what I said.
At the end of the day, I would have preferred it if he lived on, which he did anyway. Obviously, I would have got the story, and I think that would have been more of a.
It would have been more of a good old retribution. I actually I agree with you. The funny thing is that ending leaves such a bad taste. Well, you might say the beginning leaves such a bad taste in your mouth, especially when you find out that he just let himself die. It's heartbreaking because you understand he just couldn't go on after what he did.
Yeah, I think, to tell you the truth, when I watched it the second time, that's what I felt like. He needed his sister. And then when his sister was gone, he had no reason to go on. Do you know what I mean? Because he had nothing left. But one thing I did like in the anime as well was that the store owner or the person that was giving them food at the beginning actually told him to humble himself and take his sister and go back.
He laid it out all on the table. He told him, you need to stop having this pride. You need to do this for your sister. And you know what? He didn't listen.
He didn't listen.
And at that time, it was nearly it was the right time for him to turn back. He probably would have saved his sister's life if he went back at that moment, but he didn't listen.
And the fact that he had money as well, because, you know, at the end...
Well, money wasn't worth anything.
No. But at the end, he actually went and bought her food and brought it back and was like, here you go. And then I just thought to myself, why were you doing this before?
Really?
I mean, yeah. At the end of
He bought her food.
He bought her food. Yeah, that's when he found out about his dad. And he went to the bank to get money out. And he bought her food. He bought watermelon and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, well, I remember
him. He went back, you know.
Yeah.
And then I was just thinking, to me, it was lack of experience. That's the reason why she died. Stubbornness and lack of experience.
He understood that he wasn't equipped to take care of her, but he refused to be a big man and just give up his pride and put her somewhere, even if he left her somewhere in someone else's care. Anyway, you know what? That's a debate. That's a whole debate in itself.